thesis number 2, Abraham Kuyper.
Right.
Kuyper in the Netherlands was a newspaper editor, a politician who became prime minister, is that correct? A theologian. And let's see if we have a Vulcan mind meld going here. What's his most famous quotation?
Jesus Christ says, "Every inch of it is mine."
Every inch of the world.
Every inch of everything.
Of everything.
He created everything. He created it for a good purpose. And so every realm of life, every sphere, he talked in terms of spheres, has a responsibility to God to live out its vocational, creational calling, why God created it in the first place. And so as we, as members of the body of Christ, enter into these different spheres of education, science, government, we should be asking these questions: what did God create these spheres to do? And how can we exercise obedience in each of those spheres to God? One of the things that O'Donovan points out is that all peoples, and he defines people in a very particular way, groups of people who see themselves as an active moral agent, as a people able to do things and accomplish things as a unit, as a body, that those people usually are bonded by allegiance to a representative. Somebody in the community comes to represent them to themselves. And when a representative does that, he in fact he exercises political authority. So the question then becomes, who do we view as our primary representative? Who presents us to ourselves? And of course, in the church, we are told that Christ is the head of the body of Christ, that we are his members, and that body is to be our main sense of identity. That doesn't mean that we are not also called to exercise certain levels of loyalty and allegiance to other leaders and other claimants of authority. Certainly our parents, certainly our governors and our presidents. But all of those other forms of authority have to be ordered under our allegiance to Christ. And when our first allegiance is to Christ, all of those other loves and allegiances can be rightly ordered. But if somebody says, my sole allegiance is to Caesar, that's taking one particular authority that God has created for good purposes, and it's setting it up above all of the other forms of authority that he is also called to operate. Only under Christ's sovereign rule do all of those find its proper place and its proper order. So often, even the church tends to talk about politics as if there's only one realm of politics operating. So, for example, look at the recent healthcare debate. When we talked about that, and when we as Christians even talked about that, we talked about that in terms of the singular. There was one debate, the healthcare debate, and everybody knew which community we were talking about should be debating how to take care of sick people in its midst. We were talking about what the federal government should do. Why did we not insist as the church that there were healthcare debates, plural, that our congregation should be having a debate about what to do for the sick in our own midst? Why would our families not be having debates about how to care for our aging parents and how we were going to exercise our responsibilities to them? Why was our neighborhood not talking about whether we should form a co-op, whether we should pool our resources and form our own sort of insurance scheme? And that left a lot of good approaches to caring for people in need off of the table. I know you've done a lot of work in looking at local medical clinics, medical care facilities, started by churches, volunteer doctors, giving free care to those in communities who can't afford it. Why were those not part of the conversation? But when our imagination narrows down the political realm to only the nation state, what tends to end up happening is that responsibility for justice usually tends to end up narrowing down only to the responsibility of civic government. And once we've done that, I think we've moved away from our biblical calling to seek justice.